To Senator Chuck Grassley on all of this, the Iowa Republican sits on the Senate Judiciary Committee at all. Senator, are we going to have a shutdown? At the rate we're going, the two parties seem far apart.
It's always this way at the start of negotiations. I don't think the government's going to shut down. The government shouldn't shut down. It costs money to shut the government down. It costs money to start the government up, and government is service to the American people or protection for the American people, both domestically and internationally, and it's just not the right thing to do. I think that there is a legitimacy, though, for Republicans to question some of this spending, maybe the amounts of spending, but not so much the amounts, but whether it's going to be paid for. And there's a lot of COVID money in other funds appropriated over the last 2 years that's not being used, and Republicans want to offset some of this additional COVID and other health care spending with offsets. There's only one place where I think there's a legitimacy not to worry about paying for it, and that is our tradition of helping people that have been hurt by natural disasters, and it's legitimate to have some money in here to help people that are hurt by floods and other natural disasters to get the help. But beyond that, I think it ought to be paid for.
I'm just wondering, Senator, given I know you're running for re-election, you have a bit of a lead right now in your state, but the fact of the matter is, for Republicans in general who had been hoping to take the Senate, even Mitch McConnell says it's going to be an uphill battle. Do you agree with that?
No, I do not agree with it. I think we got good candidates in most states, and we're going to take the Senate by 52 votes to 48. Remember, we have 21 Republicans up and only 14 Democrats, so the numbers are against us. But we've got real opportunities, and you got to remember that this president is underwater as far as approval, particularly for the economy, and particularly in the question of, is the government headed in the wrong direction? And I hear this at my town meetings a whole month of August.
Well, then
inflation.
Why are Republicans having trouble? That's why I ask. I know you said most of your candidates for Senate are good and all that. He seemed to, that is Mitch McConnell, refer to some candidates, some quality candidates, and that maybe some of these Donald Trump picks might be problematic. That seemed to be what he was intimating. Well, do you share that view?
No, I do not share that deal. I share this, that this country is headed down the wrong road, with the polls showing almost 70% of the people saying the country's headed in the wrong direction. And head-to-head, generic Republican versus Democrat, it's even. We could be down nationally by 2 percentage points and still have a tremendous victory in the House of Representatives and still take over the United States Senate. That's what polls of previous elections have shown. We don't have to be way more popular than the Democrats to take control of the Congress, particularly when history is on our side.
No, you're right. It mostly is on your side. Obviously, there's a different environment right now. The good deal of the focus, as you know, Senator, has been on Donald Trump's back and forth over this DOJ FBI raid on his home a month ago, and that has kind of sucked a lot of the oxygen out of the room. Your colleague, Senator Mike Rounds, had told me that he wished that were not the case. He wasn't disparaging the former president, just saying that the party's fixation defending him for the most part, and the Democrats' fixation with only talking about him about 100% of the part. It's getting in the way of discussing the issues you want to discuss. Do you agree with that?
Sure. I agree that it does, yes. And I think most places in the country outside the big cities, Trump would be welcome as bringing a great deal of vitality to the base, as long as he just talks policy. Forget about the last election.
But he doesn't. He doesn't do that.
Well, I'm giving him some advice. Just policy. Forget about the 2020 election. You can't do much about that. The laws have been changed in some states to make sure it doesn't happen again. policy is what counts, and policy is going to win this for the Republicans. And anybody wanting to run for president in 2024 is going to be in a much more powerful position if they can show that they contributed to Republicans taking over the United States Senate and the House of Representatives.
Do you think he is sucking the oxygen out of the room?
Right now, we don't have one national race. We have 33 different Senate races, and you've got to look at each state separately.
So in that argument, you talk about inflation. You were early on talking about some of these problems that the administration has had, overreaching here and spending. None of that seems to be puncturing or getting through. Even in polls that look at Americans without a special preference to one kind or the other, Democrats enjoy a 3 or 4 point lead. And I'm just wondering why and how that is.
Well, don't forget that Republicans have almost always been a minority party by a lot of percentage points or a few percentage points. A year ago, we may have been up 5 or 6 points. Today, we're even. We can still do very well. And besides, the campaign is just starting now. I think you're drawing conclusions, Neil, from what went on through the summer. Not enough people pay attention during the summer. And then now is when the campaign's starting. The next 60 days is going to be the biggest difference. And this decision that people give to the Republican control of the Senate and the House is not made today. It's being made over the next 60 days, and everything is in our favor. 8.5% employment, or 8.5% inflation, right. And then you have the big gas prices. Remember, inflation was only 1.4% on January the 20th, 21. It's 8.5% today. And gas went to $5, and now it's down to a little bit below $4. And then we've got the border not being enforced, and we got all the crime in the big cities. This is not working in his favor, Biden's favor or the Democrats' favor.
So we'll see what they do and whether that gets out with all this other political stuff going on. Senator, it's always a pleasure. Thank you very, very much.
Thank you.